Welcome aboard, applicants. I thought for a changing of gears here, we're going to go from the first year law students exam into the general bar exam, October 2020, essay question number 5. And let's, as all essay questions, let's begin with the call to question. What remedy or remedies can Pam reasonably obtain against Daniel? Discuss. 2. What defense or defenses can Daniel reasonably raise? Discuss. Okay. Well, we don't know exactly, except for remedies that we're dealing with defenses, what area of law we're dealing with. So let's read our call, our questions. Thank you. Now, Daniel's house is for sale. In his living room are two valuable paintings by artists, one of the California coastline and the other of a field of Golden State wildflowers. Daniel recently refused an offer from museum to purchase the paintings for $10,000 each. Pam went to Daniel's house hoping to buy it before she left on a business trip. As Pam and Daniel, or as Pam, Daniel and as Pam, Daniel and his real estate broker Bill inspected the house, Pam noticed the paintings in the living room, commenting that they were beautiful and seemed designed to fit in the house. Pam then offered $400,000 for the house and another $50,000 if the sale included the paintings. Daniel agreed and asked Bill to draft a contract for the sale of the house and the two paintings for $450,000. Bill promised to have the contract ready for Pam before Pam left the next day. Bill drafted a written contract which Daniel signed, even though he noticed that Bill had mistakenly omitted from the sale the painting of the California coastline. Daniel met Pam at the train station as her train was about to depart. Daniel gave the contract to Pam, telling her, "This was what we agreed to, and I've already signed it." Pam's train started to move, so she quickly signed the contract without reading it and jumped on board the train. When Pam returned from her trip, she was horrified to find that the California coastline painting was not in the house. She immediately telephoned Daniel to ask about the painting, but he told her that's what the contract we signed provides, and hung up. 6 months after Pam moved into the house, she noticed in a local newspaper advertisement that Daniel was offering to sell the artist's painting of the California coastline to the highest bidder at an auction 2 weeks later. Well, right now, I can guarantee you, we're dealing with the area of law of contract law. So let's throw out our shopping list of contract law. Contract formation, third-party rights, covenants, conditions, excuses, discharge duty to perform, breach of contract, and remedies. Okay, right here we doesn't look like we have any third party rights, so we'll take that out of there. So under applicable law, let's ask ourselves here: are we dealing with the sale of land, the sale of a good, which would be the two paintings, or are we dealing with something that deals with both? And I would say it was something that would deal with both, and that's why. But predominantly, that's where we're going to use our predominant factor test here, is dealing with land. And therefore, we're going to be dealing with the common law here, because we're dealing with the sale of land. But remember, we also want to note in our analysis that we're dealing with the predominant factor test. And that's how we got to the contract predominantly dealing with the sale of land. Okay. Having established that, let's go right into contract formation. Remember, a validly enforceable contract contains legally enforceable offer, acceptance, consideration without applicable defenses to contract formation. So talking about offer here, was there an offer made? Absolutely. But remember, I think here we could argue small discussion as to this aspect, that she inspected the house. Okay, this is what I'm going to, in terms of our preliminary negotiations, I would argue that issue right before the offer was made. Okay, and then was there an intent to be bound? And did the offer contain definite and certain terms, and was it communicated to offeree? Okay, well, we do have an intent to be bound here, because Pam then offered $400,000 for the house and another $50,000 if the sale included the paintings. Highlight that because that technically represents our offer here. Okay, and it looks to me like there's certain indefinite terms there, and it also is communicated to Daniel, the offeree here. Okay, so I would say and remember our terms here. Okay, and quantity, time, interest, price, and subject matter, or interested parties, that is. Okay, now after we have an offer, we want to make sure to talk about the acceptance, obviously, right? Okay, now under acceptance, was there unequivocal assent to the terms of the offer and the means or modes invited by the offer? Absolutely. Daniel agreed and asked Bill to draft a contract for the sale of the house and the two paintings for $450,000. So yes, there was an acceptance. Now, was there sufficient consideration here? Absolutely. So let's take a look. Well, $450,000 for the house and the house for $450,000, or I should say the house plus the sale of the two paintings for $450,000 and the $450,000 for the sale of the house and the paintings seems like sufficient consideration. So we have everything that we need for a contract. Now let's talk about possible defenses, and that's what we would put down here underneath our defenses. Was there a statute of frauds argument here? For that the contract be in writing, it would satisfy the statute of frauds argument though, because it was in writing. So right up here, I'll show you. Right here, valid, it drafted a contract right here. Not just a contract, a written contract. So statute of frauds would be satisfied. Now, after talking about our contract formation, was there any other possible issues that we could bring up here? I would have to say, yeah, there might be an additional argument as to for underneath defenses here. Let me bring this up here. Mistake, and I would have to say there was a mistake as to scrivener's error, or error in transcription. Why do I say that? Up here under the facts, it says that Bill drafted the contract, but remember, what is it that Bill did not include? He mistakenly omitted the sale of the painting of the California coastline. And that my friends, definitely could be an error in transcription on the part of Bill. So what would that have in terms of a remedy to it? I would have to say reformation, because on the aspect of the error in transcription mistake, you can reform the contract to reflect what the parties in contracting intent was, which was the house plus the two paintings. Okay, so now underneath that though, we want to make sure to talk about not just mistake, but I would have to say misrepresentation, fraud. The reason why I say that here, I will point this out to you. Up here, we are dealing with Daniel, who knows right here. Signed, even though he noticed that Bill had mistakenly omitted it, and all throughout Daniel's communication with Pam, he did not notify Pam that the contract did not contain two paintings. It technically down here, because the contract did not include the California coastline painting. It did not include both paintings. And who is it that knew this? Daniel. And that's why I would throw in a misrepresentation fraud argument here as well. Now, also, I want to make sure that we throw in a parole evidence rule discussion. And that's where we could actually bring up, in a sense, I would probably bring up mistake and reformation possibly underneath that one. So I can move this around a little bit. Because Daniel's going to argue, well, what was on the four corners was simply that. But I think we could argue an exception to the parole evidence rule, which would be mistake, error, and transcription. The remedy for that would be reformation. So, okay, now, after that, do we have any possible covenants, conditions, or excuses argument? Well, see, I would say for a small discussion here that we have the condition precedent of the paintings being part of the sale of the land, and them not being present could very well be, maybe we can argue, even I'll just throw this in there as an asterisk here, express condition at that point that has to be strictly complied with. And if because it wasn't, the argument could be raised that the since a condition was not met, it's arguable as to whether uh, well, let's see that that's what Pam's argument is going to be as to why, or I should say, see, we got so I'm kind of jostling around here because I'm thinking to myself, Pam wants the California coastline painting, so she's going to want to try to find a contract here where possibly Daniel, he's going to want to have the contract not include the California coastline. So just keep that in mind when you're talking about the condition precedent, the aspect concerning it being express condition. Okay. Then underneath discharge the duty to perform, we don't have anything that's well, it could be an impossibility argument, but I don't think there's one there. Financial impracticability, no, and frustration of purpose, I don't see that either. Now, breach of contract, because what is it we have underneath breach of our contract? Anticipatory, or actually, what I'm saying, because it was anticipatory, it was repudiation. How do we know that? Up here, when when Pam contacted Daniel, she immediately telephoned Daniel to ask about the painting, but he told her that's what the contract we signed provides. Okay, so he's also still holding that position that the contract did not include the California coastline painting, and he hung up. So I would have to say that the factor that he hung up might indicate too that there was a repudiation on his part. Now remember, now at this point, being there that there's a breach of contract, that Pam's going to try to argue here, because of their. I would have to say too that the argument of substantial performance, she did not receive her benefit of the contract benefit of having a house, not just have one painting but both paintings. Okay, so there's the California coastline painting is what I'm referring to as the benefit that she did not receive from the contract, and therefore there would be argument that there was a material breach here, but the argument also could be in the opposite, that there was a minor breach in that there was only one painting. She received the house and one painting, but not the coastline painting. But if the coastline painting represents something that is substantial in terms of the contract, you might argue that that's a material, but it's a hard point to argue. I'd have to say here that there was a breach of contract, and that there was possibly a minor breach. So now under the breach of contract, don't forget to talk about remedies though, which is the bulk of what our discussion here is. Remember, under contract remedies, we have expectation damages, which would be the benefit of the bargain, and that would be the full contract price minus what she received. So it would be the whatever the value of the California coastline painting is. So I'd have to say he's going to try to argue possibly that the offer that he received for $10,000 might have been the purchase painting for paintings for $10,000 each. Oh yeah, parole evidence rule. Very good, very good. I did bring that up. Exactly right. Exactly. Very good spot on that. And also too that there was down here underneath. Oh, right here. That the contract price though said that the paintings were $225,000 in for the two paintings individually, so $25,000 a piece. So it's arguable that he's going to try to say, Daniel's going to try to say 10,000, Pam's going to try to say 25,000. Okay, but with that would be how where we would talk about expectation damages. Make sure also too that we talk about the big one here is specific performance. But remember, before specific performance, remember down here under for reading comprehension, Daniel was offering to sell. Yeah, exactly. Specific performance. Yep. That Daniel was offering to sell the artist painting of the California coastline to the highest bidder at an auction. See what's going to happen at this point. It's a really special remedy for contracts in these special situations, and that would be a TRO, a temporary restraining order. Why do I say that? Well, it's because the status quo of the ownership of the California coastline painting by Daniel has to be basically maintained. Daniel cannot be allowed to sell that California coastline painting at the auction for Pam to bring her specific performance claim against Daniel, because if the sale were to go through, we would have technically a bona fide purchaser for value, which may defeat Pam's claim against Daniel. Okay. Now down here, we have temporary restraining order, specific performance. Remember, under specific performance, we definitely have a contract here. We talked about that. Have all the conditions been met? And that's what we look at. And then after that one, she can get the money for the sale of the painting. Exactly. Amen to that. So that's the other thing too. So the $25,000. Okay, so that's one way of looking at it. If she wanted the painting rather than the 25,000, this is the one we're going down right now. And then we're going to are we dealing with something where legal damages are inadequate? Like, in other words, inadequate legal damages. That's what this up here would represent, the expectation damages. That if she doesn't want the $25,000, she actually wants the painting itself. That's why she's going to try to go for specific performance here. And then under inadequate legal damages, that would be our discussion there. And then mutuality of obligation. In other words, and then feasibility of enforcement. And don't forget about, now this is where defenses comes in, okay? And the defenses here that we're going to make sure to not forget to put down is, okay, first of all, you have latches and unclean hands. Now, then the small argument, I don't think it's here though, would be bona fide purchaser. Remember though, it's not present here though. So just keep that in mind. I'll just throw that in there. Okay, excellent. Take the price from the house. Yeah, exactly. Very good spot over there. Take the price from the house and subtract that against well, actually the full contract price of 450,000 minus the amount of expectation that she actually received, which would be 400,000 plus 25,000. That's how you'd get the 25,000 expectation damages. But remember here, we also have to go through our specific performance argument here, and we just did. So we throw down our conclusion. And then down here under defenses, put on the second page here, we have statute of frauds, and we'd have a full discussion of possible statute of frauds defenses. And also, this is where I would throw in a parole evidence rule issue. So you know what? We might save our parole evidence rule for down under here as a defense. So if we would actually, you know what, if I had to go back here, I'd probably just take this out here and bring that down because of it being a defense. And I think we got this down here. In the parole evidence rule, we talked about this up there, that there's an exception for mistake. Okay, and I think that's pretty much it. I think that's a good faith attempt at this thing. I think we did a great job. Let's see, we'll bring this down underneath here. Okay. Oh, we want to make sure too, before we get starting our approach for our essay here as well. Remedies that Pam can obtain against Daniel, question mark. And then underneath this one here would be what defenses. I have to bring this back up. Thank you for your patience with me. Cut that, bring that up here. Okay, then down under here for the between here and here. Daniels defenses. Question mark. Okay. Thank you so much for tuning in. I want to put a shout out to Chess Cruncher TV. Keep chess crunching, Chess Cruncher. I also want to put a shout out to my Amazon Kindle book, Battling the Big Bad Baby Bar Essay Basics. Okay. Stay tuned for more wonderful videos and reviews of essays. Thanks for tuning in, and God bless.